Thank you everyone for joining us this evening slash afternoon, depending on where you are, to learn more about Ulixacaltamide, as well as Praxis, and specifically the Essential3 at-home study. My name is Carol Clark. I'm the patient advocacy lead at Praxis Precision Medicines, and I'm joined today with Monique Giroux, who's the clinical lead for neurological movement disorders at Praxis. And I'll let her say a few words about her background.
Hi, everybody, and welcome. So this is Monique, and yes, I'm the clinical lead at Praxis. So I'm a neurologist, and I'm specialized in movement disorders, so have spent decades taking care of people with essential tremor and other various tremor disorders. And I joined Praxis a little over a year ago, and I am part of the team that is working on the research of ulixacaltamide.
Now, before we get started, I do want to pause and really thank the IETF for their partnership over the last few years. We've been great in terms of getting awareness for ET out, of course, and this specifically helped us getting the word out about ulixacaltamide. And first of all was the phase 2 Essential1, and then currently the phase 3 Essential3. They've been a great partner over the years, and it's our privilege to work alongside the IETF, reach out to the community through events such as these. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about who we are in case you're not familiar with Praxis. We'll talk about the development of a new potential therapy for essential tremor, ulixacaltamide, specifically about the Essential3 study. Importantly, how to get involved if you're interested in participating. So our mission at Praxis is really to help patients getting life-altering treatments faster and more effectively than has ever been done before. And I think ulixacaltamide is a great example of how the team at Praxis has really worked together to quickly develop this drug and get it into phase 3. And you'll learn that this is the last phase of development before we would be able to submit to the FDA and commercialize. It takes a lot to develop a drug, and we really rely on you as well to be a part of this because it wouldn't happen without you. I'll now hand it over to Monique to talk about the development of ulixacaltamide.
Thank you, Carol, and thank you all for attending today. I hope you find this presentation helpful. First, I'd just like to take a moment and introduce ulixacaltamide because it is developed specifically with potentially treating ET. So what does ulixacaltamide do? Ulixacaltamide, it blocks T-type calcium channels. T-type calcium channels, they sit on cells. In this particular case, they actually are on nerve cells in the brain, in certain areas of the brain, certain brain circuits that we feel are involved with when they fire abnormally, they help precipitate tremor. So by blocking these T-type calcium channel blockers, we can then modulate or reduce that nerve cell activity, reduce that abnormal nerve cell firing that is associated with tremor. So the idea is that ulixacaltamide is being developed as a specific treatment for essential tremor. It's an easy to use medication. It's formulated as a once a day medication that can be taken any time of day with or without food. And it's even designed with essential tremor in mind, meaning the size and the shape of the pill. The capsule is designed so that people that have trouble, dexterity trouble with picking up pills are better able to do it with this oval design. And studies to date, research studies to date, have shown that it's well tolerated, and I'll review that here shortly. So Carol mentioned our phase 3 trial, Essential3, and it's one of the research phases on the way to submitting a drug for review by the FDA for potential approval. And so here we have phase 1, 2, and 3 as the primary phases of clinical studies for research. So this does not include even earlier studies that need to be done, for instance, in the laboratory. So just to give you a brief review of these various phases, phase 1 is the first stage the first phase, where a drug is studied on a small number of people who do not have the condition, who do not have the disease, or we call healthy volunteers. And the goal here is first to do an initial study looking at safety. And if the drug shows that it's safe enough, then can be progressed to phase 2, which is a larger study. Now, in this particular case, our phase 2 trial was called Essential3, is opened up to a small population of people with essential tremor. And it is a study that looks further at, is the drug safe? How is it tolerated? And then begins to answer the question, how does it work to treat the symptoms of essential tremor? And if there's positive results in phase 3, then moves on to phase 3, our pivotal studies. And phase 3 studies are large studies now that include people that have the condition, in this case, essential tremor, moderate to severe essential tremor, looking again, continue to monitor for safety and how the drug is tolerated, but also how Ulixa works for people living with essential tremor. How does it affect the symptoms or experience the functional problems that tremor may cause? And if the phase 3 is successful, then we move on to application to the FDA for approval. So we have completed a phase 2 trial, and we're introducing our phase 3 trial for essential tremor today. So let's talk about the phase 2. So I'm going to give you a little bit of background about the phase 2 trial, our Essential3 trial, before discussing our new trial, the phase 3 trial. So Essential3 enrolled people 18 years or older with moderate to severe essential tremor. Individuals had to have symptoms of ET for at least 3 years, and doses of other medications used to treat ET had to be stable, no changes 4 weeks before entering the study, with the exception that people who were on primidone could not continue to take primidone if they enrolled in the study, so they may not qualify. And individuals enrolled in the study could not have had surgery for essential tremor. So that would be deep brain stimulation or focused ultrasound, for instance. So 132 people participated in this study. And these individuals were assigned to 3 groups, and these assignments were blinded. So what I mean by that is the participants themselves, the investigators, and ourselves at Praxis did not know which group participants were assigned to. So that's a blinded study. And the idea is, in doing so, we can compare the results associated with taking Ulixa compared to placebo, or some people think of placebo as a sugar pill. It's basically a substance that has no active medication. So we can compare the Ulixa to the placebo in a blinded fashion where individuals did not know which group they were assigned to. So one group received 100 milligrams of Ulixacaltamide, a second group 60 milligrams, and the third group received placebo. And what was our outcome measure? So this is one of our outcome measures. This is what we measured to determine if Ulixacaltamide had an effect on tremor. And at Praxis, we believe what is really important is not just whether somebody has tremor, but how much the tremor affects your everyday activities or your experience with tremor. So it's not just if you have tremor, but how much does it affect all the things you do day in and day out. And so this is what we measured in the trial. And you can see in this particular questionnaire, we looked at tasks such as speaking, feeding with a spoon, drinking, hygiene, and so on, and measured the effect of tremor on these particular activities on a scale of 0 to 3. So 0 was slightly abnormal or no problem with the tremor at all when doing that activity. All the way up to 3 is severely abnormal. Just cannot do it, even if you try to use special strategies or compensatory strategies. So we're able to rate each of these 11 tasks or general situations on the left-hand side of the slide using that scale. And the results of Essential3 were promising, and that's why we are now able to move on to the Essential3 or the phase 3 trial. So the study had 3 main components. The first main component we call the primary study. That was 14 weeks long. And in that part of the study, participants received ulixacaltamide or placebo, again in a blinded fashion, for 12 weeks. And in that part of the study, the ulixacaltamide showed clinically meaningful improvement in those that received the actual ulixacaltamide compared to placebo. Now, we did not show statistical significance. So the mathematical statistical significance we did not show. However, the results, the improvement associated with ulixacaltamide compared to placebo was to the degree that it was meaningful to the participants. So what is meaningful to you? Just having a change in your tremor is not enough. It's also helpful then to understand, is that change something that makes a difference, that is meaningful to you? And this improvement that was seen across all the activities of daily living. So across the various, I should say, activities of daily living. So whether you're dressing, drinking from a cup, and so on, using keys, each of these items showed improvement. And there was a good safety profile. The drug was tolerated well. So after this primary study, participants were then allowed, so they actually were taking ulixacaltamide for 12 weeks in blinded fashion, and then everybody went on ulixacaltamide. So if you took placebo early on in the study, then you went on to getting the ulixacaltamide thereafter. So everyone in the open label extension was on ulixacaltamide, and these individuals continued to show benefits after the 14 weeks of treatment. So it's important to show that there's benefit in the first 14 weeks, but it's also important to show if you continue on that medicine, that benefit stays with you. And then we did another thing. In the middle of the open label extension, we added another sub-study. This sub-study is called randomized withdrawal. So participants were all on Ulixa. And then once again, in a blinded fashion, participants who were on Ulixa were then either switched to placebo or continued on Ulixa, and again, did not know what the change was for them. And those that were on ulixacaltamide and then switched to placebo saw a worsening of their score. So it's yet another way to show that ulixacaltamide is having the effect we would like to see, the desired effect on the activities of daily living that are impacted by tremor. So it was just another secondary way we can measure and look for this potential effect with our drug. So what are the major adverse events, or you might think of them as side effects, in our phase 2 trial? And here you'll have a list of the most common adverse events that occurred in greater than 5% of individuals in the trial. And the most common by far was dizziness, followed by constipation, headache, fatigue, anxiety, feeling abnormal, and tingling sensations. The majority of AEs were mild to moderate in severity. Unfortunately, we had only three serious adverse events seen in 2 individuals, but these 3 were not deemed to be related to treatment. One was an exacerbation of COPD or emphysema, and another person did have esophageal obstruction and diagnosis of gastric adenocarcinoma. So the serious adverse events that we recorded were not deemed to be associated with treatment. So because of both the favorable results in that ulixacaltamide was associated with clinically meaningful change, improvement in activities of daily living associated with tremor, and because this was also associated with a good safety profile, we have now then moved to the next stage of research, and that's our phase 3 trial, which we're calling Essential3. And the goal of Essential3 is to evaluate the efficacy and the safety of ulixacaltamide in adults with ET. So it's like the phase 2, but now we are studying it in a larger group of individuals. And we understand the challenges of living with essential tremor. So once again, our focus is a study on not if someone has tremor per se, but taking it one step further, how the tremor affects activities of daily living. It was also important to us to get this research opportunity to as many people as possible. So we have designed Essential3 to be an at-home research study. So let's talk a little bit more about what is an at-home research study. So In this study, there are combinations of visits. The research study is actually you participate from the comfort of your home. And there is a telehealth visit where the physician, the research doctor, will conduct that visit with you via a app that can be used over a smartphone or a tablet. And you can communicate with that doctor with the audio visual telehealth visit. In addition, some specific visits in the study are done with a home health nurse that comes to your home. And we have to do a home health visit with a nurse that comes to your home because some of the assessments that are done as part of research, like safety assessments, getting ECGs, electrocardiograms, getting laboratory blood work, of course, that needs to be done at home with a nurse's assistance. So there's combinations of visits like that. And the information that we're collecting is either through what the nurse is collecting or through a series of questionnaires that we are getting through our special app designed specifically for the research trial. So no trips to the doctor's office are required. And who may qualify? So if you are 18 to 80 years of age, you've been diagnosed with essential tremor by a physician, you've had symptoms of tremor for at least 3 years. The tremor involves both hands or arms, and you have not had surgery such as DBS or focused ultrasound for your tremor. You may qualify for the study if you're taking certain ET medications, so medications to treat the tremor, although you are not able to enroll in the study if you are on primidone as a treatment for essential tremor, and it has to do with the way primidone and ulixacaltamide are metabolized. Now, if you want to see a full list of what we call inclusion or exclusion criteria, so what makes a person potentially eligible for a research trial, and this particular research trial, you can go to clinicaltrials.gov. You see the address below, and you can type in praxis, you can type in essential tremor, and you'll be able to get information related to Essential3 with more detail, all posted online. So you can also see if you qualify. So we have a special website set up for you called Essential3study.com is the address. And you could learn about the study, get some information on why you should participate, frequently asked questions, but also do a self pre-qualifications. Do you meet some basic criteria as a first step in pre-screening to see if you would potentially qualify to participate in this research study if you so choose? And so that's the various steps here on this slide that you would go through as a potential candidate for the research trial. So first, there's the online page in which you can do a pre-screening, a self pre-screening, answer a few basic questions. And then there's additional pre-screening that we perform to see if you qualify. And if it looks like you do meet the criteria to qualify, then you can advance to actually joining the study in the screening period. In the screening period, the first thing that's done is you sign an informed consent. So you learn about the study, agree to participate in the study. You need to be well informed before you would agree to participate in any research study or any other research activities are done. So that's the first thing that happens. And then there's a 4-week official screening period where there's labs, ECGs, and various assessments that are done to make sure that you qualify. And then after that 4 weeks, if you qualify, you begin the research study. In the primary part of the treatment, just like our phase 2 trial, there is 2 parts to this study, a primary part and an extension part. The primary part lasts up to 14 weeks. And in this primary part, you will receive either ulixacaltamide 60 milligrams or you will receive placebo. And just like the prior study that I mentioned, you will not know, your study doctor will not know, we at Praxis overseeing the research study will not know if you are on placebo or ulixacaltamide. It's a blinded study so that we can compare any results that we see with ulixacaltamide associated with ulixacaltamide compared to placebo. So we'll be looking at how effective ulixacaltamide is compared to placebo, how long do these effects last, and how safe ulixacaltamide is compared to placebo. And once you complete those 14 weeks, then you can graduate to the extension study, which is going to occur up to a year. And that's where, once again, as you advance or graduate to the extension study, everybody in that part of the study is on ulixacaltamide 60 milligrams. So everyone gets the study drug of interest at that part during that part of the clinical trial. So what would happen next if you're interested? So you can go to that website and complete an online pre-screener to see if you pre-qualify. If you do pre-qualify and agree to be contacted, you want more information and are interested in the research study as a potential participant, then a study coordinator will call you and answer your questions and initiate a medical history release so that we can get your past medical records. All this is done with utmost privacy in mind, but we need to get background medical records to know that, okay, an individual does have essential tremor, and these are the medications and medical problems that they experience and so on. And then if all goes well there and you still appear to qualify for the study, then the first telehealth visit is scheduled, the first telehealth visit for the study, in which you sign informed consent. And that kicks off the series of activities which are part of the research study. And after the first telehealth visit, then you'll receive your first home health visit, when you'll get additional screening assessments and paperwork and questionnaires. And thereafter, there'll be a multitude of visits in the primary part of the study in the first 14 weeks that are some combination of either a telehealth visit alone or a telehealth visit with the home health visit in which the nurse is involved. We use a study app, which the study app is something that you use your phone or your tablet to access just like you would any other app. And it's designed specifically to help us get all the information we need as part of this essential tremor trial. So if you do have trouble using an app or using a tablet because of your tremor, then it'll be important to have somebody designated that is a partner with you in this essential tremor trial to help you use your app if you need. So that's just something to keep in mind. And why participate? Well, there are many reasons why you may or may not be interested in participating in a research trial, of course. If you qualify and you decide to participate, you'll receive all study-related care at no cost to you. There is close monitoring by experienced study doctors and staff who understand your essential tremor and will monitor you along the way with your medication. And there's also the opportunity to advance medical science to help others living with tremor, or specifically with essential tremor potentially, to be part of the potentially developing a research drug for ET. Now, a reminder is participation is voluntary. It certainly is up to you whether or not you want to complete the pre-screener and progress to the next stage if you qualify. And at any time in any study, you can choose to stop participating at any time. So you are in the driver's seat there. Participation is voluntary because safety is our highest priority and your autonomy is our highest priority. And all information will be kept confidential, of course, as part of this research trial. So with that, I'm going to ask Carol to just talk a little bit more about our website, and then we'll be able to answer some questions if there are any.
Thank you so much, Monique. So as Monique mentioned, have a website specifically dedicated to Essential3 where you can find more information about the study itself, and importantly, see if you pre-qualify for the study. The survey takes about 5 to 10 minutes, and you do it all at this website. So again, it's essential3study.com. Additionally, if you're interested in keeping in touch with us, we have ongoing communications with the Essential Tremor community. Please sign up for news and updates. It's at praxisessentialtremor.com. And if you have any questions at any point, please email us. praxismovements@praxismedicines.com. I want to thank you again for joining us this evening.